I found out on Friday that I was going to be giving the talk, and I went through some of my files because I have a folder of talks and all kinds of Unity things in there. And I almost pulled out, I found a stack of papers that were my notes from one of Paul Hasselbeck's classes. And I sat there for a few minutes, because it's been several years now. And I started reading through those notes, and I was like, oh my God, you should just bring these notes and just read them. But I didn't. But one of the notes that I had taken in the class was that God is not going to answer your prayers. Prayer is not going to change anything. It's going to change your personality. That's what Paul Hasselbeck taught us in class. It changes us. So anyway, I thought, wow, I should meditate on that one for a while. But my talk on in all-inclusiveness, it's about inclusivity, and that means it's about opening our hearts. I remember as a child, my mother had a crocheted plaque on her wall that said, "Grant that I may not criticize my neighbor until I have walked a mile in his moccasins." And I thought, I used to read it all the time, and I would think about it, and I thought, this is fascinating, because when I criticize him, I'll be a whole mile away. And I'll have his moccasins. This is great. I still have that. I knew my whole life, I knew that when my mother passed away, that I was taking that to my house. That's the one thing, and I have it in my apartment. Still, but in all seriousness, criticizing, judging, when we talk about inclusivity, learning how to open our hearts, what we're dealing with is our programming. We're dealing with our programming. Our parents program us, our society programs us, our friends at school program us. We have all these built-in programs, and as soon as you encounter another person, that program comes into play, and we have all these things that pop into our mind as soon as we meet another person. Trust me, I'm in sales, so I'm telling you right now, the first thing I do when I'm trying to sell somebody something is, I have a shirt that same color. I went to that same school, or find some way to connect. Okay? Some way to connect. If I can find any way to connect with you. If Cherry tells me to call Jim, I call Jim, and when Jim answers the phone, he says, "Hello." I say, "Cherry suggested that I call you. My name is Kyle. I'm trying to connect." We're trying to connect, right? We're trying to connect with people, and we're trying to connect with everyone, not just people that go to a certain church, or who are part of a certain political party, or who are a certain color, who speak a certain language, or who are from a certain country. The idea here at Unity is to identify the Christ consciousness that is everywhere, that is actually us, and to somehow figure out how to maneuver through the world when all of these different consciousness are coming at us. I used to do an experiment. I did it. I did it for a while. I would do an experiment. So I would be at a church. So I'm not going to do this with you, but I'm just going to tell you about it, because I think it's easier for me to just explain it. So I would stand, and I would have everybody close their eyes, and I would lead them through a guided meditation in which they were sitting beside a lake, and it was a sunny day, and there were clouds in the sky, and there were boats out on the lake, and you could hear children, and I would go through this whole visual sequence, And then I would bring them back into the room, and it turns out that Marguerite was sitting in the grass. You know, Linda was sitting in one of those Adirondack chairs. You know, Michelle saw, you know, they were kayaking. You know, Boom Boom was a speedboat, and they were skiing. So if I used to envision to myself a small television monitor over each of your heads. And I would describe a scene, and I would be able to see what you were seeing on this monitor. And guess what? They're all completely different. Completely different. I can show you a painting. I can play you a song. One thing has as many different meanings as there are people. So the first thing to understand about inclusivity is that you are all by yourself. Nobody else can experience this the way you are experiencing it. That's the end of it. You can't join together. It's not going to happen. I don't care what they tell you in the fairy tale movies. It's not going to happen. You are the only person who is experiencing the world in the way that you are experiencing it. Because when I describe a lake to you, and I describe a boat, and I describe different things, you see something completely different than what I see when I envision it. We all have our own perceptions. And as I said, our perceptions are programmed into us by those around us. What we see on TV, the music we listen to, the places that we go. All these things are important. Like your environment is important because it is a vibration and it's programming you. So here we are. We want to be inclusive. We want to open our hearts and we want to join together. But now we have come to the understanding that I don't know. The best that I can do is what? The best thing that I can do is what? I can ask you. I can talk to you. I can say, what do you see? How are you experiencing this? How do you feel about this? What's your take? I have the prayer of St. Francis with me. I was somewhere, I actually don't really remember where I was, but I heard the prayer of St. Francis being recited. And it says, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. The second stanza says, O divine master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. And it was that line, to be understood as to understand. Because I thought, oh my God, I walk around all the time. I used to, there were certain people in my life that I had a lot of issues with. And the thing I said to them all the time was, what? You don't understand. You just don't get it. What is it that you just don't get? You don't understand. I said it all the time. And I thought, wow, maybe it's me that doesn't understand. Like if I'm having a battle with someone, then there's a misunderstanding. And if I'm just assuming that you experiencing the same thing I am, I'm not right, am I? I'm wrong. You are experiencing something completely different than what I am. And I don't know what you're experiencing. I have no idea. Until I what? I say, hey, can we talk? Why don't you tell me about what you're experiencing? And you would be amazed how that changed my whole world when I began to do that, when I began to communicate with people. And I had to learn how to do that. I didn't know how to do it. I had to learn how to do it. I was taught things when I was growing up, like rules number 1 through 10 are mind your own business, kid. You know what I mean? Like, so I didn't really know how to talk to people. But I learned that I'm allowed to speak to people and to say, hey, this is the situation. This is sort of how I'm feeling about it. This is sort of how I'm feeling that you're feeling about it. I'm not even going to start on the 4 agreements because I'm not even going there. But in any case, so a lot of this is about communication. A lot of it is about communication. And so I have to open my heart at least enough to ask and to communicate and to put it out on the table. One of my favorite people that I met. So when I became a licensed Unity teacher, you have to take a lot of classes. And I took some classes here, but I went to Kansas City 6 or 7 times and stayed for a week each time. And so I was at Unity Village, and I was just immersed in all these people. You know that Heart-Shaped Metaphysics book? That guy that wrote that book was one of my teachers, and Kelly Isola, and I was just getting all this stuff. There was a guy there named Tom Thorpe, Reverend Tom Thorpe, and I was taking a class with him, and you know, he was a cool guy and everything. I thought he was nice enough, and so I woke up one morning, and I must have turned the TV on or somewhere. I got news that a giant airplane with a whole lot of people in it in some foreign country had been missing. It just went off the radar. And the newscasters were saying, well, it must have been this group because it's run by this guy, and he's mad at this guy, and this and that and the other. Or it could have been this group over here, but we're not really sure, and nobody's claimed responsibility yet. And so everybody was thinking that this plane went down because it was shot down by a terrorist organization. And so I get to class, I get to Tom's class, I walk in there and I sit down, and he kind of starts the class, and one of the girls in the class raised her hand and she says, Reverend Tom, and he says, yes. And she says, can we pray for those people, you know, that were on that airplane? Can we pray for this? And I'm like, oh my God, can we just please have class? Like, can we just please get on with this class? I mean, like, what good is us praying for those people going to do for those people? I mean, my God, and I'm literally just as bad as I can be, judgmental. I'm just bad Kyle. So Reverend Tom says, of course we can pray for those people, absolutely. And he sits up straight and he puts his papers down, and man, he goes into this prayer, and he's praying for those people who are on that plane, and he's praying for their families, he's praying for their parents, he's praying for their children, he's praying for their brothers and their sisters and their nephews and their animals and then he slides over and he starts talking about how we don't really know what happened to this plane, but if anyone, you know, did something like this, he says, can you imagine how it would be to wake up in the morning with and in and as the consciousness that would actually do something like this? And I thought, oh my God. And I mean, he prayed for those people. Like, he doesn't just pray for the good guy, for the victim. He's praying for the bad guy. Right? He's not praying just for the person that got hit. He's praying for the person that hit more than for the people that got hit. It was amazing. And by the time he got finished with this prayer, everybody in the class, including me, was sobbing. It was amazing. And so you remember what I said earlier about prayer isn't going to help you? Prayer isn't going to, no, but God's not going to fix you. Nothing's going to happen. It's going to change your personality. It's going to change your personality. And he changed my personality with that prayer. He gave me a whole new idea, a whole new perspective of not just this incident that had occurred that he was praying about, but about every incident. And it really opened me up. It really helped me open my heart. It allowed me later on when I was working with people that would come to me for prayer and for healing, you know, I was able to share that with them. Like, can you imagine being in that consciousness? But that's what I have to do. I have to communicate with you. I have to ask you questions. I have to imagine. I can't walk a mile in your shoes, but I can ask you how it is to walk a mile in your shoes. I can ask you what it's like. I can ask you what you see. I can ask you, what does this mean to you? Right? And when I can do that, even if we in the end don't agree, even if in the end we have different ideas, I at least understand where you're coming from. I at least get the reasoning. Even if I don't think it's good reasoning, I at least get the reasoning. Because I assure you, I have done many things in my life with poor reasoning. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Let's see. I don't want to leave anything out. So Reverend Tom, at the end of the class that day, everybody was just stunned, and he went on with the class. And at the end of the class, I just walked up to him, and I was like, Tom, what was that? Like, what the hell, man? This is crazy. What did you just do? And he said, stop, don't do that. It's you. It's you. And I was like, wait a minute, because they put it back on you. You know, there's nothing that I know. I mean, the consciousness is in everyone. It's in everyone. I don't have anything special that you don't have. I assure you. Let me assure you of that. That it's in everyone. We meet together to share the ideas, to change the personalities, to celebrate spirit. Unity of Savannah is all inclusive. That means anybody can come here. And we try to make everybody that comes here feel welcome. We want to let you know that whoever you are, whatever you do, whatever color you are, whatever sexual preference you are, whatever political party you are, come on in. Because we understand that underneath all of those man-made ideas and perceptions is Christ consciousness. We understand that. You know, and that's how we want to connect. So I don't know if any of that will do anything for you during the week, but maybe I said something or presented a new idea to you that you can use or meditate on or think about as we continue through life trying to open our hearts The one last thing, Pema Chodron, one of her books, she talked about society and culture and laws. She was talking about the police. She was talking about the prison system. She was talking about different things like that. And she made a statement in that book that said, you know, to function as a society, we have to have structure, and we have to have laws, and we have to have our ways, and we have to have our rules. And she says, but just because someone breaks the law and they have to be incarcerated doesn't mean that I have to close my heart to that person. I was like, wow. It's amazing stuff. So let's take these ideas into prayer. We are so blessed. We see our blessings. We see them. We feel good. We smile. We see blessings all around us. We see everyone around us as a blessing, and we see that we are blessings. Say that. I am a blessing. I am a blessing. Say, I am a great blessing. I am a magnificent blessing. We are magnificent blessings to the world at any moment, at any time, at any place, anywhere, any day of the week. I can come into my Christ consciousness and I can vibrate as this blessing. Open a door for somebody. Smile at somebody, tell somebody hello, let somebody in traffic, listen to a friend, go help a friend. We're just grateful. And in this gratitude and with these blessings and as these blessings we say, and so it is, and amen.
Will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith, and I am stronger every moment, every day. My mind is willing and my heart is open wide. I trust my instincts and let Spirit be my guide. I vow to live a life that's real and pure and free, as I continue walking in this mystery. I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith, and I am grateful every moment, every day. There may be walls, there may be roadblocks in my way, but I can choose to take a higher path each day. And now I know that what I thought was safe and sound was only habit and regret that held me down. I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith, and I am kinder every moment, every day, and I'm more loving every moment, every day. I will surrender every moment.